Last year we kind of did like a advocacy kind of photo shoot where we were highlighting different people who have been either indirectly or directly affected because of addiction in some way, in some form or another. So this year we're kind of spinning off of that, and we're kind of doing a advocacy kind of documentary, I guess you would call it. I don't even know, but so we're giving people the opportunity to tell us their story, and try and see if we can continue our fight in eliminating the stigma attached with addiction. So today, we're sitting down with Alexandria Danalis-Hurd of Northeast Philadelphia. Last week, on our first episode, we sat down with Jacqueline Tomaselli of Northeast Philadelphia. So this is episode 2, and we're just going to get right in it. So we're going to be talking today about the father of your child, Ned. So if you can, just tell us a little bit about Ned.
Ned was very funny. He was kind, and he was always very, very cocky. But it was, it wasn't unbearable. I mean, sometimes it was, but normally he was, did it in a joking way. He was very caring for a lot of people, and he had like dreams, and he had so many things he wanted to do. He wanted to join the Air Force, and he wanted to like be a better person. After a while, it did start to change, and he did start getting a little, I guess, depressed. He definitely was getting depressed, and he just slowly, everything changed, and he wasn't that person anymore. He wasn't the person that was always joking around and was making you laugh. Like, he became kind of like a shell. And when Ned started getting sober, and when he got sober, he was himself again. And it was crazy the change that happened when he got sober at them times. He started joking around again and smiling, and it was like a real, his laugh would make you laugh at that time. And it just, I guess the drugs overtook him.
When did you guys meet?
We met, I was a junior in high school. I was 16. And we went to different schools, but we met at a park. And he always would like joke around me, and like I would always kind of just like blow him off a little bit. And then when I actually sat down and started talking to him, I was like, wow, he's actually like, he's like a good person. I didn't realize, because I never really like paid attention.
Okay. When did he start using? If you know, when did he start using?
So I know that Ned would like dibble and dabble with things, like before we met, because I know exactly when we met that he was like doing this thing, and I was currently like using at the time, not all the time, but once in a while. And he actually had 30 days that he did not use anything. And it was only that he would use on the weekends and this and that, but he just wanted to see if he could do it. And when I started talking to him the first night we ever talked, he was telling me how he didn't do anything and this and that. And then I guess when we were like 16 is when it actually started getting bad.
Okay. Walk me through, I guess, like the progression of his use, maybe your use or your guys' use together. Walk me through the progression of that.
Okay, so I was in high school, and he would pick me up every day. And it was just once or twice a week that we were doing perk 30s. And then the once or twice a week became to every single weekend, once or twice a week. And then that became almost every day. So by senior year of high school, we were using almost every day. Actually, when right after graduation, it was my graduation party, I found out I was pregnant with Nettie. And we both stopped. We stopped for right after I found out I was pregnant. And then he started using. His mother found out. He went away. He came back, and everything was okay. We had Nettie, and when I was in the hospital with Nettie, I said, "Here's my card, go." He left, and we started getting high again right after the day I had Nettie in the hospital.
Still perk 30s or?
Perk 30s,
Okay.
Yes.
At what point did it, I guess, progress into other things?
Well, me and Ned, we were still just doing 30s for a really long time. We ended up separating. And when we ended up separating, he started using other stuff and I started using other stuff, not together, just like, and that's really when it was probably not even a year later after I had my son that it started getting bad. And we progressed to heroin. When we both found out, we weren't together at the time, we both found out that the other one was using heroin, we became running partners.
Okay. And I guess where did it go from there? Like you guys as running partners, did you have your child at this point or was this before the child?
We had Nettie at this time.
Okay.
His grandparents kind of stepped over and it was to the point where I was like maybe only a month after I started getting high that I went to them and I said, I need help. So I went on my first rehab. And I got out, and then me and Ned just kept on going after that. When I found out that he relapsed and I was getting high again, we kind of just started running. Val ended up stepping in, and she decided it was in Nettie's best interest, and I decided as well that they take custody of him. I still got him a couple days a week if I was doing good, but just to know that he was okay, they took over, and I went to rehab in Florida. Okay. And Ned went to Florida. Ned was there first, and then I went as well.
Okay. When did he pass?
He passed on February 24th.
February 24th?
Yes, 2019.
2019.
No, 18, I'm sorry.
2018. Do you remember, what were your last words to him?
I'm not too sure. I know he got out of rehab on a Friday, and he ended up overdosing that Sunday, and he died. I don't know. He called me. We were supposed to go. He called me right before he got out of rehab, and he was talking to Nettie. And we had a trip planned to Orlando the 27th. We were supposed to leave for Nettie's birthday, which was on February 28th. And he was in Florida, I think, because he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, maybe I'll come to Orlando with you guys, and I'll go to the park one day with Nettie. And he had plans. He had plans to be there. And listen, he loved Ned so much. Ned was such a good dad when he was present. And he wanted to go and do stuff with us. And we always did stuff as a family. And that was really the last conversation I remember having with him.
Okay. You kind of alluded to this a little bit, but if you do remember, kind of walk me through, I guess, the days leading up to his passing. Do you remember anything about that?
Not really, no. I mean, he just got home, so I don't know. He just got home and he was at his house, so not really, no.
Okay. No problem. So as far as Ned, little Nettie is his son. It's your son.
Yes.
How much does he know about the situation?
About his father overdosing?
Correct.
He knows everything. His grandmother sat him down, and she's a lot better at talking than I am. So she sat him down and she told him, listen, your dad loved you very much. And your dad was sick. And whenever questions Nettie has for me, I answer, and I answer as honestly as I can. Obviously, I don't just tell him, all the details, because I don't feel like he needs to know the details as of right now, but he does know that, listen, your dad loved you so much. Your dad was sick, and your dad, mommy got better, and your dad just couldn't. And he fought so hard, but he just couldn't anymore. He was tired.
So that initial conversation, right, which you kind of just alluded to again, and you said that his grandmother, she's maybe better at putting that into words than you are. As his mother, kind of walk me through what that initial conversation was like with you directly to him. Like, what did you tell him, and how did you say it to him?
Okay, well, his grandmother called me and she said like she doesn't know what to do and she wanted to be honest and this is what she wanted to do. And I thought it was a great idea. I thought like, we need to at least tell him and warn him that like this is what it is. And like, and there's always a chance. That's why you never use drugs, and there's good medicine and bad medicine. And she did most of it and she told him like, all that kind of stuff. And then he always asked me, why did my dad die? Why did he have to take the medicine? And I just tell him like, listen, Eddie, like there's something wired in his brain different. Something changed. And he's not that drug addict that people perceive him to be. Like that's not what it is. Your daddy was sick and he loved you, and that's all really that matters. And he just took too much bad medicine and his brain made him do it. It wasn't him as a person, it was just what he did.
Okay. Does he ever, other than that, does he ever ask any other questions about his father? Like, what was daddy like, or
He remembers.
he
He
remembers?
remembers what his dad's like. And,
Okay.
he has text messages on his phone and videos of his dad. And he asked me, the biggest question is, why did my dad have to die? Why did my dad have to die? And for a while, it was like, why did my daddy have to die? And why couldn't it have been somebody else? And we have to explain to him because he's 8 and he doesn't really know that, like, if it was somebody else, that could have been somebody else's daddy. Like, it happens, and it's always somebody's loved one and this and that. And that person is cared about regardless if it's his dad or somebody else's dad. Like, it's somebody loved that person,
How has it been? Obviously, I mean, I know your family to some extent, and I know you guys, everyone surrounding you, like the family that I know, are very supportive. So how has it been raising him without his father? From the perspective that I'm sure he has plenty of support, but I'm sure there's times when, he's just looking for his dad. So how has it been raising him without his father?
He does have a lot of support. He does. And, his dad used to take him a couple days a week. His grandmother still takes him them days. So, he's, he has 2 families that love him very much. It is kind of hard, and I do see him sometimes. And there's so many things that I wish I could do for him and my husband wishes, but it's meant for a father. And he does miss him and he does, wish that his dad was here. But it's been difficult, but it's been, with the support he has and the love he has, it hasn't been horrible. I mean, definitely for him, it's traumatizing. And I wish his dad was here, but he has so much love and support. And like his grandfather, his Ned's father, he does so much for him. My dad does a lot for him. So there are father figures. I know it doesn't, replace his dad. Nothing will replace his dad, but it definitely helps.
So if Ned were here today, right, paint a picture of what him and little Nettie's relationship would look like if he were here today.
Ned and Nettie were best friends. Um, and they would sit and he would play games with them for hours, and he would sit there and they would, do everything together. When Ned was with Nettie, Ned would smile and Nettie would smile and they would laugh together and they were amazing together.
Okay. So just kind of getting off that topic a little bit, why do you think, more of a general question, why, in your opinion, do you think that there's such a stigma surrounding addiction?
Because I really believe that like people are just uneducated. People are very uneducated. Even me with work, people look at me and they're like, "You were a drug addict?" Like people don't expect um me or Ned's parents are both cops. They don't expect for that kind of upbringing for somebody to be a drug addict, and they don't expect for me, who my dad was a police officer for years. They don't expect for my mom's a nurse. Like they don't expect for somebody like me to be a drug addict. And, and it's not my upbringing, my upbringing has nothing to do with it. It's just what I chose to do. And I really believe a lot of it is just the generation. I really believe it's just around, and it needs to stop. But I don't think that, people realize, like, people think of a drug addict and they think of like people that are homeless, or someone who is always begging for money. They don't realize that drug addicts can be anybody.
Right, which kind of gets me to my next question. Like, I've seen, obviously, I've seen plenty pictures of Ned, the father of your child, not little Nettie, but big Ned. Very handsome man. You're a very beautiful girl. And I think, like you were just saying, some people have this kind of misconception in their head when they hear like alcoholic or when they hear drug addict. They have like this picture in their mind of some guy just sitting outside of a bar with a brown paper bag and a 40 with missing teeth. And that's just not true, as I'm sure you know and I know. It's not true. They look like me. They look like you. You may have just touched on this, but how do you think we get to a point where people realize that this is happening like right in our own homes? And like, if you're a lawyer, no matter how much money you have, if you're a doctor, white, black, doesn't really matter. It kind of doesn't discriminate on anyone.
Yeah. I think it's crazy. Even with Ned, like, I remember Ned used to put socks in his shoes, like, just to make sure they didn't crease after he was like done with wearing them. And like, he would never wear anything if there was a stain on it. Like, he was always stayed very clean, always. And I mean, me on the other hand, I would go out in my robe sometimes to pump my gas. So, it's always different. But, I think that now that it's happening so much more and it's not as hidden, I really hope that people do start acknowledging it more and realizing, like, this is a real problem. This is a problem that needs to be addressed. And that since more people are realizing, like, my dad would never, always was junkie this and junkie that. And my dad's also old school, but he was part of the problem. And I think after having a daughter that, became a drug addict, his eyes are a little more open. And I don't want anybody to have to go through their kid being a drug addict. I never wish that on anybody, but I think that maybe people are going to understand more now, and realize that these people need help and these people are good people. Drug addicts are some of the best people I know. They're so kind, and I think that if you give them a chance and you really understand that it's not them, that they have a problem and it needs to be addressed, I really think that will help so much.
So as Ned is looking down on you, right, and you are 5 years without a drug, so yes. Congratulations on that. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So given your guys' past use together, you guys have a child together, and now since then, it's been 5 years since you've used a drug. What do you think he's kind of looking down? What would he say if he was looking down and not to say that he can't see it, because he can. What do you think he's saying looking down, seeing that?
I think I think that he is proud. That was one thing that me and Ned didn't always get along, but no one ever always gets along, but if I was doing good, he would say, I'm proud of you. He would always let me know that you're doing great. So I really think that he would be proud.
Okay. What's your message to other parents, right, who might say, okay, I don't really care enough because my daughter's never going to do drugs, so this is never going to happen to me anyway?
Don't ever think it's not going to happen to you. I had so many I nevers. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. I'll do this, but I won't do that. And you know what? All my nevers came true. I never thought I would be that person. And when I look back, it's hard to believe that I was that person, but I was. And I don't want anybody to ever think that they'll never do it, and I hope they never do. I really do, but you never know. You never know.